Let's get to our big three, though. And we've got three tremendous games to focus on, none more so than the game, Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan, as of time of recording, 3.5-point favorites. It might be down to 3 where you get your lines. This is a Saturday, 11 a.m. kick. It's Fox's big game of the week. Guys, without a doubt, this is a playoff game in its own right. Michigan and Ohio State vying for the Big Ten East crown. The winner goes to Indianapolis to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. We've seen that script before. It all but seems like the winner of this game is guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff. But the storyline that jumps out to me is the loser. And that typically is the case in this game because the Big Ten West hasn't mustered much of a challenge in the conference championship game. And so we've been left to wonder, for the loser, are they eliminated from playoff contention?
I mean, they're not completely eliminated, but they need chaos like what broke out last year. The reason Ohio State got in last year is because there was chaos in the conference championship games, and TCU lost to Kansas State, still got in, but USC lost to Utah, and a few dominoes just had to fall Ohio State's way, and those dominoes fell. So that's why Ohio State got in last year. The loser of this game is going to be rooting for several other teams next week and can't control their own destiny. So not completely eliminated, but this is a big deal. And I do want to point out that this is the last iteration of the game likely that will be like this, because in the future, next year, these two teams would turn around and play again in Indianapolis next week. And, you know, even if Ohio State wins or Michigan wins this week, the other team could get the auto bid by winning next week. And that's one of the downfalls that I will acknowledge of the 12-team format that's been proposed. You will have situations like that, but I think that's more of a scheduling conflict with the Big Ten than a playoff issue. But that's a rant for another day. I just want to acknowledge that this is the last iteration that'll be, you know, all the marbles on the table like this.
Well, and I think there's a point there, but at the same time, this game is so much more than just what it means nationally, right? If this game was irrelevant and both of these teams were, you know, 7-win, 8-win teams coming into it, it would still be one of the most heated rivalries in the country, and everyone would care about it, right? And you have to think about the storylines coming in. You know, the whole Michigan winning the last several. And, you know, they've stomped all over him for a couple of years, and it's been, you know, Ryan Day can't get over the hump. And so now there's that whole thing. But now, you know, Michigan maybe hadn't looked as good since Harbaugh's been suspended. And there is the whole, you know, suspension and the sign stealing and everything else. And that's drama. And so maybe Ohio State fans feel like these wins weren't deserved. But then you have to turn around and say, well, okay, well, Ohio State, you know, you made the playoff last year, but you didn't win this again. You still haven't been back to that conference championship game in a couple of years because of Michigan. You've had to watch your rival do this a couple of years in a row. You're finally playing better defense, but maybe that offense isn't quite as electric as you thought so in previous years. Man, there's just so many cool storylines coming into this, right? And that's the way that it should be. This game should have big storylines. You should have some intrigue. There should be a lot of questions that go around this one. For this year, I think this effectively is an elimination game because I think there's just so many other teams that could get in with one loss, right? If you look at the ACC championship game, you'll have probably, assuming no chaos, a at worst one-loss champion. Either, Florida State, maybe they lose the Florida game but still win the championship game. Or you have Louisville coming in there as a one-loss conference champion. They should deserve to go as a one-loss conference champ over a one-loss regular Michigan or Ohio State, right? You should deserve it in that case. And then, you think about Texas with one loss. You think about either Washington or Oregon with one loss. I think this effectively is an elimination game for a lot of different reasons. I don't think that this team, whoever loses this one, I think they're the prime candidate to finish number 5 and just not make the playoff.
Yeah, I think right there behind any combination of Alabama, Texas, Oregon, I think you're going to have a very talented jumble 5 through 7 or 8 this season. Trey, let's get into the X's and O's here. The narrative leading up to this is, can Ohio State stop Michigan's rushing attack? That's what you're going to see if you turn on the national shows. But if you dive into the statistics, It's not like Michigan has a dominant running game. It's not like Michigan is running for 250 yards a pop whenever they want. It's been the bread and butter for their offense, but they haven't been tested, right? They've only played one CFP top 25 team all season long. JJ McCarthy has been able to take literally entire halves off. I don't know that the narrative should be that Michigan is some overwhelming force on offense.
Yeah, Ohio State's certainly been more tested coming into this game, more consistently tested. And, Michigan's not coming into this game playing their best football right now. Overall, Michigan's 50th in yards per game rushing. Ohio State's the 21st rushing defense, right? So this is a little bit of a reversal of what we've seen the last couple of years, where Michigan's coming in with this behemoth rushing attack, and can Ohio State be tough enough? Ohio State's proven that they can play tough, hard-nosed football this year. They're not winning with CJ Stroud just chucking it up and, having this huge offensive skill player advantage. They still have that, but they're willing to play a grinded out game. They're willing to play elite defense and play hard-nosed football. And that's been the winning formula for them this year. Kyle McCord has not been a Heisman caliber quarterback, and Ryan Day has shown that he can win in different ways. So I think a lot of people that are painting that narrative are just kind of falling into the trap of what this game was last year. Last year, Michigan was the hard-nosed team. Ohio State was the all-flash little steak, right? All sizzle, no steak.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bit Ohio State. Michigan brought out a different game plan, started throwing the ball downfield a bit more, but it was really Ohio State's lack of toughness. That hasn't been a problem this year, and it's going to be fascinating to see if Michigan's able to turn it up a notch like they have the last couple of years.
I think, we put for our second X's and O's that the Buckeyes need to throw the football down the field. Now, their backfield has not been very healthy this season. They've had to rotate a number of guys. Kyle McCord has not been a standout. He's not been outstanding. He's really not been anything more than slightly above average in a game-to-game setting. But you look at his total numbers, and Ohio State is averaging 283 yards per game through the air, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Listen, he's not been fun to watch, but Honda McCord has not necessarily been the anchor holding this Ohio State team back. In fact, it might be something that has kept them under the radar enough to where a lot of people are going to pick Michigan this week, and then Ohio State flips the script.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that they stay kind of tamped down on offense, but I think this is the time when it's time to let loose and start throwing it down the field, right? It's time to start taking some chances. They've been really efficient, right? Kyle McCord has been efficient. He's been good at doing the right thing with the football, hasn't made a whole lot of mistakes. It's gotten better as the years worn on, especially. But man, like it just feels like it's that time to let it fly, right? You can't come out, kind of hesitant in this game. You can't come out a little bit slow in this game, because if you come out slow in this game and the other team gets up 7 points, 10 points, 14 points, now you're starting to panic. Now you have to push down the field. That's when mistakes happen. That's when the sacks start stacking up. You start to get those picks. You start to get, fumbles and stupid mistakes and 3rd and long and penalties and everything else. And when you get to that spot, that's not the way that you want to catch up on a very talented other team, regardless of which side of the ball it is. So, if it's Michigan, I think your concern is, okay, well, yeah, you maybe haven't had the running game you've expected to all year, right? You've tried to get it going, and it hasn't been as good. Now, Blake Corum still got 20 touchdowns on the ground this year. That's fantastic. You can't knock the guy for being as effective as he is at scoring, but he just doesn't have the yardage numbers that we had last year. On the flip side, I think that, Ohio State's done a better job keeping a balanced offense this year, but you could almost argue it's balanced because they need the balance and they don't have the ability to go down the field like we expect them to from a normal year. So it'll be interesting to see if they change up their game plan and decide, let's take a shot early, right? If it's me, I'm wanting to throw some kind of a jump ball one-on-one down to Marvin Harrison Jr. early, like first drive. First time you get the chance, it can be a, run the ball in first, second down, we're going to take a shot, because you need to start establishing that early, and you need to establish you're going to do that. If you don't, then you let Michigan kind of clamp down on you, and that would be a problem.
Trey, let's get to the picks. You are riding with Ohio State. to win this game outright. Explain the case for the Buckeyes going on the road and knocking off Michigan.
To me, it's just who's playing better football right now. And I think, Ryan Day has a chip on his shoulder. First of all, he's tired of hearing the third base comments. He's tired of hearing how his team's soft. He's tired of hearing how he can't beat Michigan. I just think he gets it done this year. I think he finds a way, gets it done. I know it's on the road. It's going to be a hostile environment. I also think Michigan's just been a bit distracted. All this sign stealing stuff, all this, Harbaugh versus the world comments when he's really just, agreeing to all the investigations. I think it's going to catch up to him this week. I think it's almost caught up to him a couple times, but the distractions are going to catch up to him. I'm taking Ohio State in this one, if for no other reason than Ohio State's just kind of due in this matchup, and I'm done underestimating the physicality of this team. I did it against Notre Dame. I did it against Penn State.
Yep.
I'm done underestimating it. I think they've proven it.
I think home field advantage in this rivalry is something that is very, very important. I think Michigan has been one of the top 2 teams that we've gone back and forth with Georgia all season long. Now, is the argument true that Michigan still hasn't played really anybody? Yes, I think that is certainly a factor. Ohio State has more skins on the wall to this point in the regular season. I trust Michigan's offensive line and their ability to move the football a little bit more than I do Ohio State, especially against such an elite secondary that Michigan has. Now, Ohio State's defense, they've flipped the script. They are no longer the liability that's going to hold this team back. I think this is a very tough, very, very close football game. I'm going to ride with the home team to win and take Michigan, but I am going to take the Buckeyes and the 2 outcomes here as my official pick. So give me the Buckeyes plus 3.5.
Gentlemen, it has become my brand to be the Ohio State hater on this podcast. And I know that I stuck up from earlier in the season. You're welcome, Joe. But Joe, you might want to turn this one off for a second. Ohio State, it's been good. They've been really good this year, but they haven't quite been explosive. They haven't been that same Ohio State team that we've been looking for. They got the 24th ranked scoring offense, which for a lot of teams is really good. But for Ohio State, that's just not where they're used to being, right? That's not what they normally do on an every year season. And on that basis, they do have, however, the 2nd best scoring defense in the country. That's something you can't ignore. That'll travel. But the 1st and best in the entire country scoring defense belongs to the Michigan Wolverines. They have the 11th best scoring offense. I'm rolling with Michigan to keep the streak alive. We're wearing the home field shirt. Hail the victors. Michigan, you're doing it again. They'll win this game. They'll secure the top spot in the college football playoff. And they're going to do it for Harbaugh, even though realistically Harbaugh did it for himself. But that's the motivating factor for the Michigan Wolverines. They want to do it for their coach. They feel like it's everyone against them. And when you get a team with a complex, whether that complex is right or wrong, they find a way to do it. Give me Michigan.
All of these speeches, and it's for Harbaugh, like he's somehow departed from the realm of the living, have gotten old.
It is
so
ridiculous.
I'm very reluctantly picking Michigan. I think for the headlines to give us a fresh story, it would probably be best if Michigan lost this game. I think it would exercise a lot of demons for Ryan Day as well. But like I said, I'll roll with the home team.
Gracious, how about